Hare Krishna, everybody. Welcome.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you for coming earlier for our last session. So I'll just quickly summarize. So we are now in the 19th chapter. Last class we did chapter 18, in which Diti, the wife of Kashyapa, vowed to kill Indra, being very angry at him for having Lord Vishnu kill her sons. So she approached her husband Kashyapa deceitfully, and being obliged to her service, Kashyapa had to give her a blessing, and she wanted blessing that to have a son that will be able to kill Indra. Of course, Kashyapa, he regretted, but then the brilliant idea came to his mind that he will give her something that will purify actually her heart. So he instructs Diti in the Pumsavana vow in the last chapter, and we heard all the rules and regulations, do's and don'ts of the vow, quite a few. It was a pretty complicated vow. So Diti became pregnant, and very faithfully, with great enthusiasm and eagerness, she started discharging the vow, following it. And at the same time, Indra, being very afraid, he approached Diti and served her deceitfully in order to find faults in her execution of the vrata, to be able to kill the child in the womb. So the Diti one evening, she made a mistake. She forgot, being tired from the discharging vow all day. Being tired, she forgot to wash her feet before the sleep, and that's one of the rules of the vrata. So as soon as she made that mistake, Indra immediately noticed it, and he used that opportunity to enter her womb and cut the embryo into 7 times 7 pieces. First into 7, and then each of these 7 pieces into another 7 pieces. In this way, he cut it in 49 pieces, and out of that 49, Maruts were born. And when Indra tried to kill them, they cried, don't kill us, we are your brothers. So Indra was surprised, but he listened to them. And then in this way, like Maharaj Parishit was saved by Lord in the womb, in a similar way the Maruts were saved by Lord's mercy by the potency of devotional service that their mother was doing. And then at the end of the last chapter, we have a honest discussion between Diti and Indra. She asked him, can you tell me what is happening, what is the situation? And Indra also stopped being deceitful and told honestly that he actually tried to kill her embryo, but he apologized, and he glorified Diti's devotional service, begged for forgiveness, and then he left to Swarga together with the Maruts and his brothers. And then at the beginning of the 19th chapter, we hear about Maharaj Parishit asking Shukdev Goswami about the rules, how to execute this vow, because we heard how great the vrata is. So he's naturally curious to hear about the vrata in detail. So he's asking Shukdev Goswami, and Shukdev Goswami is explaining all the intricacies of the vrata. So we'll continue. First, let me share my screen. Stop at the shloka 6. So we'll continue with that and go till the end of the 6th canto. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Naram Devi Saraswati Vyasanta Tujaya Mudira Nushta Presha Bhadrishu Nitya Bhagavata Seva Bhagavati Uttara Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki Om Gyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Shavaka Chakshu Umlitamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Okay, Sloka 6. Vishnu Patni Mahamaya Mahapurusha Lakshane Priyetame Mahabhage Lokamata Namostute. So after profusely offering obeisances unto Lord Vishnu, the devotee should offer respectful obeisances unto Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, and pray as follows. O wife of Lord Vishnu, O internal energy of Lord Vishnu, you are as good as Lord Vishnu himself, for you have all of his qualities and opulences. O goddess of fortune, please be kind to me. O mother of the entire world, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. So we worship not only the Lord, but also energy of the Lord. That's why we have Lakshmi Narayan, Radha and Krishna, Sita and Ram. We generally do not worship the Lord alone, but always with his internal potency. And Gaudiya Vaishnavas even give more prominence to worship of the energy of the Lord, of Srimati Radharani, because by only her grace we can get Krishna's grace. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Lord has multifarious potencies. Parasya Shakti Vidhaiva Shuyate. Since Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is the Lord's very precious potency, she is addressed here as Mahamaya. The word Maya means Shakti. Lord Vishnu, the Supreme, cannot exhibit his power everywhere without his principal energy. It is said Shakti, Shaktiman, Abheda. The power and the powerful are identical. Therefore, Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is the constant companion of Lord Vishnu. They remain together constantly. One cannot keep Lakshmi in one's home without Lord Vishnu. To think that one can do so is very dangerous. To keep Lakshmi or the riches of the Lord without the service of the Lord is always dangerous, for then Lakshmi becomes the illusory energy. With Lord Vishnu, however, Lakshmi is the spiritual energy. So we have Shaktas, the worshippers of the energy of the Lord, who worship the energy but do not worship the Lord. So Durga Puja, Kali Puja, all similar sort of worship that is done generally in Tamoguna is dangerous, as Prabhupada explains here, because why they do this worship? Just to get some material benefits. But they can get the benefits, but they also can get all the trouble that goes with it. And sometimes, they're punished or even killed by the energy of the Lord, like in case of these dacoits who kidnapped Jada Bharat and wanted to sacrifice him to goddess Kali, and then Kali came and killed them all. And that's not the only example how the worshippers of Durga or Kali or another form of Shakti is the punishing those who offend the devotees of the Lord. So Mother Lakshmi, she is the internal energy of the Lord, and actually she is the expansion of original Lakshmi, which is Srimati Radharani, who expands into so many Lakshmis. The gopis are her expansions, and then in Vaikuntha they expand as Lakshmi Devi. Thousands of, it's mentioned in Brahma Samhita, thousands of Lakshmis are present in Goloka Vrindavan, Sahasra Lakshmi. Okay, next sloka 7. Om Namo Bhagavate Mahapurushaya Mahanubhavaya Mahavibhuti Pataye Saham Maha Vibhuttibir Bhalim Upaharamiti Anenaharahar Mantrena Vishnur Avahanagraya Padyopasparshana Snana Vasa Upavita Vibhushana Gandha Pushpadupa Divopaharadhyupacharan Susama Hitopaharet. My Lord Vishnu, full in six opulences, you're the best of all enjoyers and the most powerful. O husband of Mother Lakshmi, I offer my respectful obeisance unto you, who are accompanied by many associates such as Vishvaksena. I offer all the paraphernalia for worshipping you. One should chant this mantra every day with great attention while worshipping Lord Vishnu with all paraphernalia, such as water for washing his feet, hands and mouth, and water for his bath. One must offer him various presentations for his worship, such as garments, sacred thread, ornaments, scents, flowers, incense, and lamps. So we see that this Musavana Rata includes a lot of archana, a lot of deity worship, elaborate deity worship, together with some vandanam, offering prayers. So it's a combination of few limbs of bhakti. Purport. This mantra is very important. Anyone engaged in deity worship should chant this mantra as quoted above, beginning with Om Namo Bhagavate Mahapurushaya. So Vishwanath Thakur also comments that this mantra is used in the worship. 8. Avishesham Chadjuhuyad Anale Dvada Shahuti Om Namo Bhagavate Mahapurushaya Mahavibhuti Patye Svaheti. Shukadeva Goswami continued, after worshipping the Lord with all the paraphernalia mentioned above, one should chant the following mantra while offering 12 oblations of ghee on the sacred fire. Om Namo Bhagavate Mahapurushaya Maha Vibhuti Pataye Svaha. So Havishesha means remnants from the worship of Vishnu. The remnants are called prasadam, and usually after yagya, they're distributed, or after the worship of the Lord. The remnants are distributed to the present, those who are present there. Shriyam Vishnum Chavaradhav Shisham Prabhavav Ubau Bhaktya Sampujayan Nityam Yadichet Sarva Sampada. If one desires all opulences, his duty is to daily worship Lord Vishnu with his wife Lakshmi. See, this means if one has all, he has material desires, he wants opulences. How to get these opulences? You worship Vishnu together with the Lakshmi Devi. Not just Lakshmi, not just Vishnu, but both of them. So with great devotion, one should worship him according to the above mentioned process. Lord Vishnu and the goddess of fortune are an immensely powerful combination. They are the bestowers of all benedictions and sources of all good fortune. Therefore, the duty of everyone is to worship Lakshmi Narayana. Purport. Lakshmi Narayana, Lord Vishnu, and Mother Lakshmi are always situated in everyone's heart. Ishvara Sava Bhutanam Hridesha Arjuna Tishtati. However, because non-devotees do not realize that Lord Vishnu stays with his eternal consort, Lakshmi, within the hearts of all living entities, they are not endowed with the opulence of Lord Vishnu. Unscrupulous men sometimes address a poor man as Daridra Narayan or Poor Narayan. This is most unscientific. Lord Vishnu and Lakshmi are always situated in everyone's heart. But this does not mean that everyone is Narayan, especially not those in poverty. This is a most abominable term to use in connection with Narayan. Narayan never becomes poor, and therefore he can never be called Daridra Narayan. Narayan is certainly situated in everyone's heart, but he is neither poor nor rich. Only unscrupulous persons who do not know the opulence of Narayan try to afflict him with poverty. So this expression of Daridra Narayan, I don't know who exactly coined it. Some, sannyasis in Prabhupada's time or before, from Ramakrishna mission that were preaching in India, and they were worshipping poor people as they were manifestations of Narayan, which is abomination of philosophy. It's a speculation, complete speculation. Lord is present in everyone's heart, regardless whether one is a poor or wealthy, and he has nothing to do with external designations. Then, praname dandavad bhumau bhakti pravena chetasa dashavaram japin mantram tata strotram udirayat. One should offer obeisances unto the Lord with a mind humbled through devotion. While offering dandavas by falling on the ground like a rod, one should chant the Bhum mantra 10 times. Then one should chant the following prayer. So in order to worship the Lord, we need to have a proper state of mind. What is the state of mind? Mind humbled through bhakti, through devotion. If one is in a proud, puffed up state of the mind, it is, it's very difficult to worship the Lord, being, very, very, full of himself, thinking, if I'm thinking how big I am, it's difficult to sincerely worship anybody, even the Lord, who is much bigger than us. But still, if we don't have humble disposition of the mind, bhakti is not possible to perform properly. And dandavats, falling physically on the ground with the 8, parts of the body touching the ground, it's helpful to put us in the right state of the mind. It is, putting, when you are lying flat on the floor, it's difficult, to think high of yourself. You're in the dust in front of somebody. That means that you're voluntarily submitting yourself in front of somebody. So the mind follows the body action. So the body action is showing the very humble position. So the mind also enters that mood of humility, following dandavats. And then in that state, like falling on the ground, you chant 10 times the mantra, the glorification of the Lord. Not once, but 10 times, for mind to absorb it, to imbue the mood, the proper mood. So that's why when we offer obeisance, it should be done, consciously, not just, fast, running, just touch 1 second or half second, you touch the ground with your forehead, immediately you jump and run. That's mindless. It should be mindful, in proper state of the mind. That is the whole purpose of offering obeisances, to put us in the right state of the mind, humble state of the mind. 11. Yuvam tu vishvasya vibhu jagata karanam param iyam hi prakriti sukshma maya shakti duratyaya mama maya duratyaya. You remember from Bhagavad Gita, maya shakti duratyaya is very difficult to overcome. My Lord Vishnu and Mother Lakshmi, goddess of fortune, you are the proprietors of the entire creation. Indeed, you are the cause of the creation. Mother Lakshmi is extremely difficult to understand because she is so powerful that the jurisdiction of her power is difficult to overcome. Mother Lakshmi is represented in the material world as the external energy, but actually she is always the internal energy of the Lord. So energy of the Lord is one, but depending on its function, we call it internal or external. So when it's performing its function in material world, then it is it is called external energy. And in the spiritual world, as Yoga Maya, it's called internal energy, facilitating the past tense of the Lord. Shloka 12. Tasya adishvara sakshat tvam eva purusha para tvam sarva yagya ijyayam kriyam falabhug bhavan. My Lord, you're the master of energy, and therefore you're the supreme person. Your sacrifice, yagya personified, Lakshmi, the embodiment of spiritual activities, is the original form of worship offered unto you, whereas you are the enjoyer of all sacrifices. So in the same shloka, we have glorification of both the Lord and the Lakshmi. Vishajagrati Thakur, Ija refers to the contemplation of the activities that a man performs in preparation for a sacrifice. Kriya refers to activities in the sacrifice not restricted to persons initiated into sacrifice. 13. Guna Vyaktir Yam Devi Vyajanko Guna Bhug Bhavan Tvam Hi Sarva Sharir Yatma Shri Arendriyashaya Namarupe Bhagavati Pratyayas Tvam Apashraya. Mother Lakshmi, who is here, is the reservoir of all spiritual qualities, whereas you manifest and enjoy all these qualities. Indeed, you are actually the enjoyer of everything. You live as a super soul of all living entities, and the goddess of fortune is the form of their bodies, senses, and minds. She also has a holy name and form, whereas you are the support of all such names and forms and the cause for their manifestation. So holy name of the Lord includes both holy names of the Lord and his energy. So that's why we have Radha and Krishna in Mahamantra. Hare and Krishna, Rama and Krishna. Hare is the name of the energy of the Lord. There is also another mantra which uses Radha instead of Hare, but in same fashion as Mahamantra. Sometimes you hear it in Vrindavan chanted in Radhe Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Radhe Radhe, like that. But we chant Hare Krishna because this was taught by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Madhvacharya, the Acharya of the Tattvavadis, has described this verse in the following way. Vishnu is described as Yagya personified, and Mother Lakshmi is described as spiritual activities and the original form of worship. In fact, they represent spiritual activities and the super soul of all Yagya. Lord Vishnu is the super soul even of Lakshmi Devi, but no one can be the super soul of Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu himself is the spiritual super soul of everyone. So Lord Vishnu is the super soul even of Lakshmi Devi. According to Madhvacharya, there are two tattvas or factors. One is independent and the other is dependent. The first tattva is the Supreme Lord, Vishnu, and the second tattva is Jiva tattva. Lakshmi Devi, being dependent on the Lord Vishnu, is sometimes counted among the Jivas. The Gaudiya Vaishnavas, however, describe Lakshmi Devi in accordance with the following two verses from Prameya Ratnavali of Baladevi Vibhushan. The first verse is a quotation from the Vishnu Purana. Nityaiva sajagan mata Vishnu shrir anapayini yata sarva gato Vishnus tata iveyam vijottama Vishnusyu shaktayas tisras thasuya kirtita para saiva shris tat abhinenti praha shishyan prabhu mahan. O best of the Brahmanas, Lakshmi is the constant companion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, and therefore she is called Anapayini. She is the mother of all creation. As Lord Vishnu is all-pervading, his spiritual potency, Mother Lakshmi, is also all-pervading. Lord Vishnu has three principal potencies, internal, external, and marginal. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has accepted Parashakti, the spiritual energy of the Lord, as being identical with the Lord. Thus, she is also included in the independent Vishnu Tattva. In the Kantimala commentary on the Prameya Ratnavali, there is this statement. I'll skip the Sanskrit. Although some authoritative Vaishnava disciplic successions count the goddess of fortune among the ever-liberated living entities, Jivas in Vaikuntha, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in accordance with the statement in the Vishnu Purana, has described Lakshmi as being identical with the Vishnu Tattva. The correct conclusion is that the description of Lakshmi as being different from Vishnu as stated when an eternal liberated living entity is imbued with the quality of Lakshmi. They do not pertain to Mother Lakshmi, the eternal consort of the Lord Vishnu. So definitely it's a Gaudiya Vaishnava conclusion, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's conclusion, that Lakshmi is never ordinary Jiva. She is counted in the Vishnu Tattva, or we can say sometimes Shakti Tattva, but it's the same Supreme Tattva, Ishvara Tattva, not marginal energy Tattva, not Jiva Tattva. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, we have that shloka, Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir, Hladini Shakti Rasmat. That Radha is Krishna's, the transformation of Krishna's love, Pranaya Vikritir, Hladini Shakti. She is the pleasure potency of the Lord. But two of them, they're identical. They're Radha and Krishna, actually not different from one another, in the same way as the energy is not different from energetic. There is no energy without energetic, and you cannot have energetic without the energy. So they're tightly bound together and go with each other. In that sense, they're not different. Pratyaya means the revealer of the names and forms. You are also the support, apashraya, of the names and forms. 14. Yata yuvam trilokasya varadau parameshtinau tattamautama shloka santu satya mahashisha. You are both the supreme rulers and benedictors of the three worlds. Therefore, my Lord Uttama Shloka, may my ambitions be fulfilled by your grace. So you're glorifying the Lord and his energy, so Lord Narayan and Lakshmi, and then at the end, only after glorification, you ask for your ambitions, your desires to be fulfilled by the Lord. So when we are praying, we do not immediately say, "Oh Lord, please give me this, give me that, give me that." No, first you very humbly glorify the Lord, submit yourself in front of the Lord in a very humble state of the mind, and only at the end of the prayer you can ask for blessing, for particular desire to be fulfilled. Ityabhishtuya Bharadam Srinivasam Shriyasaha Tan Nisaryopaharanam Datva Chamanam Archayat. Shishadeva Goswami continued, thus one should worship Lord Vishnu, who is known as Srinivas, along with Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, by offering prayers according to the process mentioned above. After removing all the paraphernalia of worship, one should offer them water to wash their hands and mouths, and then one should worship them again. So it's a very elaborate procedure of worship. First you worship, then you remove the paraphernalia of worship, then you offer Achaman and Padyam, and then you worship again. Tadastu stotrena bhakti pravena chetasa yagyochishtam avagrhaya punar abhyarchaye darim. Thereafter, with devotion and humility, one should offer prayers to the Lord and Mother Lakshmi. Then one should smell the remnants of the food offered, and then again worship the Lord and Lakshmi. So before and after the worship, you offer the prayers. Then you smell the remnants, and then again do the worship. So this requires quite some dedication. Patimcha paraya bhaktya mahapurusha chetasa priyaistair upanamit prema shila swayampati vibhyat sarvakarmani patnya uchavat chanicha. Accepting her husband as the representative of the Supreme Person, a wife should worship him with unalloyed devotion by offering him prasad. The husband, being very pleased with his wife, should engage himself in the affairs of his family. So for the wife who is doing this vrata, there is an extra duty besides worshipping Lord Narayan and Lakshmi. She also has to worship her husband. It's a part of the vrata. And then she should give him prasadam after worshipping him. Purport: the family relationship of husband and wife should be established spiritually according to the process mentioned above. So spiritually, what it means, establish spiritually, means that the worship of the Lord is in the center of the relationship. Husband and wife, they do not live together just for the sense gratification. No, they live together in order to help each other worship the Lord. So Krishna is in the center. And then you consider your spouse, your husband or your wife as a devotee, and you offer him prasadam after the worship of the Lord. So in this way, the relationship becomes spiritualized. 18. Kritam ekaterenapi dampatyo rubayorapi patnyam kuryat anarhayam patiretat samahita. Between the husband and wife, one person is sufficient to execute this devotional service. Because of their good relationship, both of them will enjoy the result. Therefore, if the wife is unable to execute this process, the husband should carefully do so, and the faithful wife will share the result. So sometimes one family member cannot do certain type of vrata, for example, like Kadashi fasting, but then you can fast on their behalf. You can do the vrata on their behalf and give a result to them. I mean, this applies also to anybody, not only to the family members. You can give a result to whomever is dear to you. So you can do devotional service or vrata vow on the behalf of somebody else. So sometimes wife cannot do it, so husband will do it. Sometimes husband cannot do it, so wife can do it on his behalf for her husband. Purport: the relationship between husband and wife is firmly established when the wife is faithful and the husband sincere. Sincere means sincere devotee. Then even if the wife, being weaker, is unable to execute devotional service with her husband, if she is chaste and sincere, she shares half of her husband's activities. Yeah, if she's chaste, she gets the 50% of the spiritual activities of the husband, even if she herself is not able, but because she's dedicated to husband who is doing devotional service, she also gets the result. Similar principle applies to disciple who serves spiritual master. Since spiritual master or guru is, serving Krishna, by serving him, you also get spiritual benefit of his devotional service. Between the husband and wife, either of them can do the rites. Vishnu Vratam idam bibran na vihanyat kathanchana vipran striyo viravati sragandabali mandane archid ahar bhaktya divam niyamam astita udvasya divam svedhamni taniveditam agrata adyat atma vishuddhyartham sarvakama samriddhaye. One should accept this Vishnu Vrata, which is a vow in devotional service, and should not deviate from its execution to engage in anything else. By offering the remnants of prasad, flower garlands, sandalwood pulp, and ornaments, one should daily worship the brahmanas and worship women who peacefully live with their husbands and children. So here we have worship of women also mentioned. Every day, the wife must continue following the regulative principles to worship Lord Vishnu with great devotion. Thereafter, Lord Vishnu should be laid in his bed, and then one should take prasad. In this way, husband and wife will be purified and will have all their desires fulfilled. It's a quite intense, engagement, this Vishnu Vrata. All day you're serving the deity, the your husband, the brahmanas, and others. And then only in the evening, after putting the Lord to rest, you can take some prasadam. So definitely it needs to be, because it needs to be transformative, because the engagement is very intense. You cannot be spaced out and just do it casually. You really need to be fully into it. And that full engagement is what purifies the heart, that intensity of engagement, because your mind has to be there, and because it's It's practically whole day engagement, and it goes day after day for 1 year. It must result in purification of the heart, because it's very intense engagement for a long period of time. Navihanyat means one should not break the vow. Agrata means dividing up the remnants properly. Okay, the ability can be used to express the missing participle. So Tivrena Bhakti, we have that shloka. Tivrena Bhakti Yogena. Tivra. Akama Sarvakama Va. Mokshakama Udara Di Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Yajita Purusham Param. So whether one has material desires or no material desires or desires liberation, he should worship the Lord with the Tivra Bhakti, with the very intense devotional service. Only that intense devotional service can bring purification of the heart. The devotional service is not a part-time hobby that you do a little bit in a spare time. You train few rounds when you don't have anything else to do, and then you count. It will purify the card. Of course, it will purify, but it will take long time, many years in our lifetimes. But if you want quick express purification, you need 24 hours, or at least 12 hours full day engagement in devotional service. That intensity is what makes the impact, what removes the anarthas, what pushes you towards the goal. So intense engagement has to be there. Dhruva Maharaj is given as an example of one who was intensely engaged, and only in a very short period of time he attained the darshan of the Lord and self-realization, because he was very intensely engaged. He was not playing around and joking. He was really doing his tapasya, chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and not eating, not breathing. He was intensely concentrated. And that's why he quickly achieved the result. Chitraketu also similarly, even faster. Yes, Prabhu.
It's just a quick question, Prabhu. I'm just a little confused here. So this is a direct vrata that one can take in order to achieve, or is this a general advice for husband and wife that this is the way they should be? There's a large amount of our Pancharatrika Vidhi that we do in deity worship, etc. So a lot of what's recommended here is what we have to follow anyway in deity worship, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we do that in any way as a natural way, of course. So is this a specific vrata, or is this a general advice of recommendation of how one should try and
No, this is a specific vrata. Here Shukdev Goswami specifically explains the details of Punsavana vrata to Maharaj Parishit, and that vrata also includes many rules that we anyway follow in the deity worship, because the vrata includes in itself deity worship plus some other things there, some rules, some don'ts, and some do's. But yeah, as you say, we do the deity worship, and more or less the same rules apply there, depending on the standard of the deity worship we have at our home. It's not the same. Not everybody has the same. Some people, just do a little morning puja, 20 minutes, shalagram puja, or whatever deity they have. It's not that everybody has the same rules. Not everybody is, offering Raj Bhoga 6 times a day, and different levels are there. But this explanation here is specifically for this vrata, Punsavana vrata, and Archanam, the deity worship, is part of it. Is that okay, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
21. Itina puja vidina masan dvadasha hayanam nitva to paramit sadvi kartike charame hani. The chaste wife must perform such devotional service continuously for 1 year. After 1 year passes, she should fast on the full moon day in the month of Kartik, October, November. So it's a very long, wow, 1 year. You have to do every day so much. So it has to purify the heart. Of course, I don't know many people who nowadays would be able to do it. And of course, the deity is a special special lady in Kashyapa Muni Prajapati. So and they didn't follow this really on earth. It was in a higher regions. So I don't know how much we can follow the same rata here, but somebody can try if he has enough endurance. Shvobhute paupasprisya Krishnam abhyarcha purvavat payashithena juhuyaj charunasaha sarpisha pakayagya vidanena dvadashaiva uttipate. On the morning of the next day, one should wash oneself, and after worshiping Lord Krishna as before, one should cook as one cooks for festivals, as stated in the Grihya Sutras. Sweet rice should be cooked with ghee, and with this preparation, the husband should offer oblations to the fire 12 times. Swabhute means early next morning. Pakayagya Vidanena means according to the rules for cooking rice for the full moon observances. So there are some rules. How do you cook on Purnima rice? And that's described in some Grihya Sutras. I'm not accustomed with them, so I cannot say exactly what is it. So cooking also is a part of Rata, not only deity worship. And of course, deity worship includes cooking because you need to offer something to the deities. Ashisha Shira Sadaya Dvijay Pritai Samirita Pranamya Shirasa Bhaktya Bhujtatad Anugyaya. Thereafter, he should satisfy the Brahmanas. When the satisfied Brahmanas bestow their blessings, he should devotedly offer them respectful obeisances with his head, and with their permission, he should take prasad. So this is how every vrata finishes. You feed the Brahmanas or the devotees, and then you ask for blessings. I've seen, many devotees who follow Kartik Vrata, or at the end of the Kartik, they make a feast, they invite the devotees, they give them donation and ask for blessings, and in this way, the Vrata is considered complete. And only at the end, when everybody else is satisfied and pleased, you can take prasadam. Acharyam agrata kritva vagita saha bandhubi dhadyat patnyai charoshesham suprajastvam susaubagam. Before taking his meal, the husband must first seat the acharya comfortably, and along with his relatives and friends, should control his speech and offer prasad to the guru. Then the wife should eat the remnants of the oblations of sweet rice cooked with ghee. Eating the remnants ensures a learned, devoted son and all good fortune. So the purpose of eating these remnants of sweet rice is to get a son with the good qualities. If you remember how Lord Ramachandra and his brothers were born, it also involves some sweet rice being given after the sacrifice to Kaushalya, Kaikeyi, and otherwise of Dasharat. Shesham suprajashtvam susaubagam means food remnants which will produce a good son and very good fortune. Or the last sentence can be taken a separate sentence, may she have a good son and good fortune. Devoted son and all good fortune. So son is considered good if he is learned or devoted, not if he's wealthy or this or that, but learned and devoted. Etat charitva vidibhad vratam vibhur abhipsitartam labate pamaniha stri chaitat astaya labete saubagam shriyam prajam jiva patim yashogriham. In this vow or ritualistic ceremony is observed, if this vow or ritualistic ceremony is observed according to the description of Shastra, even in this life, a man will be able to achieve all benedictions he desires from the Lord. A wife who performs this ritualistic ceremony will surely receive good fortune, opulence, sons, and long-living husband, a good reputation, and good home. So here again we have a description of motivated bhakti, because somebody is performing this vow because he wants something from the Lord. He wants some blessings, and that's why he's performing the vrata. But because the vrata is devotional service, he gets not only the result, but he also gets purified and he makes spiritual progress, which is actually the main result, not the material benedictions that he gets. So again, we have description of mixed devotional service that by the potency of bhakti turns one into pure devotee. In Bengal, even today, if a woman lives for a long time with her husband, she is considered very fortunate. A woman generally desires a good husband, good children, good home, prosperity, opulence, and so on. As recommended in this verse, a woman will receive all these desirable benedictions, and a man will also be able to receive all benedictions from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, by performing this particular type of vrata, a man and woman in Krishna consciousness will be happy in this material world, and because of being Krishna conscious, they'll be promoted to the spiritual world. So yeah, this is the formula how to be happy in the material world. One must worship the Lord, and as the result of that worship will be that one will live happily without disturbance in the material world. Of course, disturbance will be sometimes there, but at least to some degree, you can live peacefully by performing devotional service as described in this vrata. And then at the end of this life, you'll be qualified to go to the spiritual world because you'll be purified through performance of devotional service. The woman will obtain a husband who lives jiva pati. So if the lady performs this vrata and she is not married yet, I don't know if unmarried woman can perform this, but I'm just thinking because here Vishwan Chakritaku says she will obtain a husband. That means she has no husband yet, but she is performing the vrata. Then she will get a good husband who will have a long life. So that can be also a result of performing a vrata, receive a good fortune, opulence, sons, a long-living husband. Or by performance of this vrata, her husband gets a long life. She extends the life of her husband by performing. So she's married. It's not that she's unmarried girl. But she gets opulence at home and long-living husband. Kanya cha vindita. So we have Kanya here now. Kanya cha vindita samagra lakshanam. Patin tvavira hatta kilbisham gatim. Vritta praja jiva sutta daneshwari. Sudur bhaga subhaga rupam agryam. Vinded virupa viruja vimuchate. Ya amaya vindriya khalya deham. Etat patnam abhyudaye cha karmani. Ananta tripti pitri devatanam. Tushta prayachanti samasta kaman. Puma vasane tabuk. Shri Harishcha Rajan Mahan. Marutham janma punyam. Ditir vratam. Chabehitam hate. Okay, we were mentioning the unmarried girls previously. Now here it explains that even they, kanyas, they can perform the vrata. If an unmarried girl observes this vrata, should be able to get a very good husband. If a woman who is avira, who has no husband or son, executes this ritualistic ceremony, she can be promoted to the spiritual world. A woman whose children have died after birth can get a child with a long duration of life and also become very fortunate in possessing wealth. If a woman is unfortunate, she will become fortunate, and if ugly, she will become beautiful. By observing this vrata, a diseased man can get relief from his disease and have an able body with which to work. If one recites this narration while offering oblations to the Pitas and demigods, especially during the Shraddha ceremony, the demigods and inhabitants of Pitraloka will be extremely pleased with him and bestow upon him the fulfillment of all desires. After one performs this ritualistic ceremony, Lord Vishnu and his wife, Mother Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, are very pleased with him. O King Parikshit, now I have completely described how Diti performed this ceremony, and I had good children, the Maruts, and a happy life. I have tried to explain this to you as elaborately as possible. Avira means a woman without a husband or sons. A woman whose son has died will have a son who lives and also become wealthy. A man who is diseased will be freed of the particular disease and receive a body capable of using the senses. Abhyudaya means a Shraddha ceremony. Then Vishnu Hutabuk will also be pleased. Tushta. So the commentary of Srirartha Darshan, 19th chapter of 6th canto, has been completed to give pleasure to the hearts of the devotees in accordance with the views of the acharyas. The devotees flowing with mercy and continuously chanting the names of Krishna should tolerate my chattering, although I'm approaching death, having been destroyed by fever from the three doshas. I have completed a commentary on the 6th canto of the 9th lunar day of the waxing moon of Vaishakha month on Wednesday at the base of the Zaya tree, moist with drops of water from the waves of shining Yamuna river. So this is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writing at the end of the 6th canto. He's writing it on the bank of Yamuna in Vrindavan. And he completed actually the whole Bhagavata. And this is the end of also Srila Prabhupada's purports and the end of the 6th canto. So this is Palashrutis here for those who want to observe this rata, for those who are very desirous to obtain something but want to do this through the mercy of the Lord Narayan and Lakshmi Devi, they can dedicate themselves for 1 year, whoever can do this and perform the rata. But undoubtedly it's a difficult Rata, but the results are great. But I think there are also probably easier ways to perform devotional service. And generally, we do not want to worship the Lord with some material desires. So again, description of mixed bhakti is here. We had a Vritasura episode described, glorifying the power of pure unalloyed devotional service in contrast to the mixed bhakti of Indra. And that was the central story of this sixth canto. The purity of devotional service is the main point, the main conclusion and lesson of the sixth canto, that we should aim for the pure devotional service, which is not tainted with material desires. We should not imitate or follow in Indra's footpaths, but in footpaths of Chitraketu, Vritasura. Of course, you don't want to become a Vritasura demon, but to follow an internal mood of purity. And if you remember at the beginning of the sixth canto, we also had the story of Ajamil, which glorified the chanting of the holy names of the Lord, the power of the holy names. So this is our way of making progress in spiritual life, taking full shelter of the holy name of the Lord, and rejecting all material desires, as we were taught by Srila Prabhupada, by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In Shashtakam, he is teaching Nadhanam, Nadjanam, Sundarim, Kavitam Vajagadisha Kamai, Mama, Janmani, Janmanishware, Bhavatat Bhakti Rahaitu Kitvai. Oh my dear Lord, I don't want any wealth, Janam, any followers, Sundarim. I don't want beautiful women or men. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. So this is also the message of the whole sixth canto. And that's attained through Chetu Darpana Majaram, through Sri Krishna Sankirtan, the chant of the holy names that we had described and glorified in the first six chapters of this canto. So I'll stop here. If you have any final comments, questions, because we came after quite some time to the end. Please, if anybody has anything to say. Hare Krishna.
Firstly, thank you so very much for this absolutely beautiful and spiritually upliftingly mesmerizing recital of Canto 6 that you've done with us, and we look forward to Canto 7, 8, 9, 10 doing with you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Over the course of
It was my pleasure to do some service, to have some kata together. I wish that maybe when we do the next chapters that becomes a little bit more interactive, that others also engage with more, not only me speaking, but whatever is okay. I'm fine with that. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
I'm sorry we had to miss quite a few. My humble request is when you do reorganize these again, perhaps if they could be done in such a way that it doesn't clash with Padmanabhan Prabhu's Bhagavatam class on Mondays. That half an hour, 45-minute hour overlap means that we always end up missing the last class and then having to listen. So that would be a humble request if that's possible at all when it comes to this.
I
have a question.
Please note, I just to Prem Goswami Prabhu, because he's from our institute. If he can note this, that next time we schedule it, that it's not overlapping with other courses. Yes, Prabhu, Shailesh Prabhu.
So we see here in this particular vrata that Sukadeva Goswami is talking about, and we see that consistently throughout the Bhagavatam, that many vratas are essentially, in essence, more karmakanda, because Falastuti is more materialistic phala, that one is doing these for, i.e., good husband, good wife, good, good children, good, etc., etc. And yet the Bhagavatam is the spotless Purana for pure bhakti. So why is it? I know that in the audience there is a whole mixture of sages, including sort of perhaps sages who are not as elevated, but clearly the guidance that is being given here is towards Krishna prema, Krishna sort of unconditional love to Krishna without expectation of anything. So why are these Falastutis literate all over the Bhagavatam like that, in that manner, and so articulated in such great detail, almost encouraging the listener to try and follow them if you can?
Yes, it's a good observation that there are a lot of procedures and rituals and vows that we get these falashutis at the end that try to motivate us in a material way. Why is it so? But because there are, 4 types of people who approach the Lord, and generally the pure devotees who just want to serve and love Krishna without any motivations, they're very rare. And to them, you don't really need to preach and motivate in any way, so you can just motivate them with the pure love of God. But most of the people and aspiring devotees, they still have material desires. So how to get them started on devotional service? So this is one of the way to motivate them, that they will get all these benedictions that are given in Palashuti. And by performing the devotional service, thinking about these benedictions, they'll get purified, and eventually they will forget about the material desires, how Dhruva Maharaj forgot it. But he needed some, and we generally, many of us, need some initial motivation, some initial push. If you just say, oh, you will get a pure love of God, and we have no experience what that pure love is, it's difficult, to become so enthusiastic, especially if one is a neophyte, if he's a new devotee. So you need to motivate him somehow. So this is a good tactic of strategy of motivating people who don't have pure motivations, which have to admit that most of people in the beginning, they don't have pure motivations. So somehow or other, they need to start performing bhakti, and through these falashrutis, they'll be motivated to do it. And once they do it, they'll get purified from it. So there is no loss. But the conclusion of Bhagavatam is clear, that it's a pure, unmotivated, unmixed devotional service. So although the falashrutis, the material blessings and motivations are here and there, they don't constitute the conclusion, the Siddhanta of the Bhagavatam. No. The Siddhanta is very obvious, that it's just pure, unmotivated, unalloyed devotional service. But for those who have material desires, bhakti is also recommended, because they will fulfill their material desires, plus they will get something more, much more. They'll get love for Krishna. So this is how I see it. What do you say, Shailesh Prabhu? Does it make
Excellent
sense?
description. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. It's basically the carrot to
It's a
entice
carrot,
the individual.
We need to start somehow. I remember also when I was just a new devotee, if you just told me, oh, what do you get by this? If you would tell me, love of God, what is it? I have nobody told me what love of God is. So I can think only in terms of the things I have experienced. So if you offer me something, concrete, then I'll be motivated. I'll be, doing it. And then eventually, when the time passes, I'll understand that this is actually the most worthy thing, the love of God. But in the beginning, we don't know. So we have to be motivated in some way or other. Okay, anybody has any other comment? question? Or we didn't even need to start early. I didn't know that that we didn't have so much to finish. Otherwise, I wouldn't ask to start at 4. But anyway, so if nobody has anything else, I thank you all very much for all these long months of attending and listening and being here. So we hope to start sometime soon. Again, I don't know exactly when. The administration of Mayapur Institute will figure that out. For a couple of months, I'll be out of Mayapur. So perhaps after that sometimes. Panchakalpatarusya kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.